Okay, we have an update on 3 of our videos where more things have happened, including Governor Inslee backing down. We'll tell you all about it. Thank you for watching. My name is Glenn Morgan, and this is We the Governed. And as always, I'd like to start these videos out with a trigger warning. Nothing I say here has been approved by Governor Inslee's Ministry of COVID Compliance. So if you only want to listen to what he wants you to hear, please stop watching now. Otherwise, let's get right into it, because Governor Inslee has been in the news now, as he always likes to be. And it's not just because of a little bit of Omicron floating around. It's also because he's sort of been forced to back down. And the main way that he's had to back down just recently is he's had to back down on that stupid long-term healthcare tax, this long-term healthcare tax, realizing that Initiative 1436 was coming. And he realized that people were pushing back on it and were very upset about the tax that was going to be taken out of their paychecks to basically, if they would ever even get it, if they would even realize it, wasn't going to give much of a benefit at all. And it was going to be this escalating tax that Inslee would be able to increase, and nobody was happy about it. It was really a terrible public policy, a horrible piece of legislature that came out on partisan vote. The Democrats loved it, Republicans didn't, and that is what we are dealing with, and Inslee decided to back down on it. And that's actually quite interesting, because essentially what he said, originally when he made the announcement, he said he'd delay it for a year, but he's actually only going to delay it until April, which is essentially after the state legislature is done. And he's claiming that this is to give the Democrat legislature time to fix the mess that they've already made. And most importantly, of course, this is an attempt to derail I-1436. Because this is a scary and ugly election cycle for the Democrats. Most political insiders believe they're going to lose political power in Washington state, at least in one house, maybe both of them in the state legislature. And so there's some kind of an effort that they're making to avoid having something that's going to be on the ballot at the same time that's going to encourage more people to come out and not just vote against this, but vote against the clowns who actually thought it was a good idea. Part of this is also to sabotage 1436. If they can change the law again, then it makes it so that the 1436 doesn't even apply to this law. And so that's essentially what's happening. But this is Governor Inslee backing off and deciding that his idea wasn't such a good one. And I'm sure he did that in conjunction with his good buddy, Bob Ferguson, who's the Attorney General. And they probably spent some time colluding together. Silent J and Bob, I'm sure they're having a good time figuring out what can they do to get out of the mess that they're currently in, and that's what looks like happened. The other thing I want to talk about is a follow-up to a recent video I did going back to the City of Olympia, state capital Washington State in Thurston County, just for a quick geography location here. But we also had a bunch of clueless and really terrible elected officials there who made a horrible recent public policy decision, which was to put as many homeless drug addicts and criminals in this La Quinta Inn over in Lacey. Because if there's one thing Olympia is very good at exporting, in addition to terrible pieces of legislation from the legislature, and of course crazy edicts from the governor now, they are very good at also exporting criminals and drug addicts out of homeless camps that they don't need any longer now that they got the benefit of their votes and their ballots and their census data information. So they are kicking them out into the surrounding communities, demonstrating just what a good neighbor they can be. However, they did get a lot of blowback from people, and so the story is now it is not going to be so fun, and they're going to be bowling those people out on January 3rd, so they say. I don't know that I necessarily believe them, because just because they claim they're going to be doing that doesn't mean that's the truth. They do lie on a regular basis, so it really merits paying a lot more attention to that. I've made the argument that these homeless drug addicts should probably be moved to Evergreen State College. There's a lot more room there for parking RVs. It's a lot harder to burn down that campus because it's made out of concrete mostly, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them to do structure arson fires there. And they're a little bit more prepared, and culturally it's a pretty good fit to move the criminals and drug addicts out there. So that's been my argument. I know I made it for years, but I just want to point it out and remind everybody here. This is a look from downtown Olympia, and it would blend right in with the Evergreen College campus today. And so I'm just making that argument again. Rather than sticking them out in other surrounding communities, they can keep it where it would make a little bit more sense. Finally, I want to go to this recent situation where Governor Inslee and Speaker of the House Jenkins was cheering the lockout that they had for the Republicans, using the excuse that they didn't show enough of their medical history in their paperwork, claiming they would be not demonstrating whether they were vaxxed or not, and so they were going to lock them out, and they did. They've already locked them out. That's been their policy. And so there was this big drama. I did a video on this a few weeks ago about this legal battle that was going to Thurston County. I do want to point out the Thurston County Superior Court, as I have said before many times, is the place where the state constitution goes to die. And so the judge there, Thurston County Judge Sue Wilson, was not a good choice. And she was really conflicted. I mean, it's really unfortunate. Now, she shot down the injunction, which is not the end of this case. It's just what it means is that she won't do an emergency injunction preventing the state legislature from implementing these ridiculous rules. And even though there's still some negotiations that are going on, it looks like this was just a bad choice. And one of the reasons why she made this bad choice is that she's completely conflicted on this issue. She should never have been allowed to hear this case. But in Thurston County, the judges are just so bad, and the system's so bad, and it's set up so bad that you're really going to never get a fair hearing when it comes to any kind of a constitutional problem. Let me go into some very specifics with this, with Mary Sue Wilson, who's the judge that heard this case recently. Number one, she was appointed by Governor Inslee. Now, practically all the judges there have been appointed by either Inslee or Gregoire anyway. That by itself causes a problem because they tend not to put in, he doesn't put in good judges. But in addition, she worked in the Attorney General's office for decades. So she's a close friend of Bob Ferguson's and has been, how in the heck is she going to be able to hear something from the Attorney General's office arguing on the other side and rule fairly? She isn't. She's always going to be biased in favor of the Attorney General's office all the time. In addition, in the beginning of this case, she admitted that she was close friends with the AG attorney who was representing the state in this case, which is ridiculous. Normally, that should cause you to basically recognize the conflict of interest that's there and push it over to some other judge. Now, I don't know if they could find another judge who wasn't conflicted, but this obvious conflict was embarrassing and ridiculous. And one of the absurdities of basically having any kind of a case like this in the Thurston County Courthouse. But finally, going back into her actual legal history, when she worked at the AG, she also worked as counsel for the Department of Ecology and some other agencies, but specifically, she was the chief counsel for the Department of Ecology's director, 3 of them. And when you have that kind of close ties to the political elite, and you're so tied into the establishment like that, it is completely impossible for you to function as an honest judge who can make a decision in a case like this. Everybody on one side, on the state side, you're either close friends with them or you've argued those cases. The other funny thing about the Department of Ecology role that she played is that when she worked at the Department of Ecology, they got injunctions just every day. I mean, they filed for injunctions for everything, and they got them all the time. And now suddenly she becomes a judge, and now injunctions are hard to issue. And she benefited from getting injunctions all the time at the Department of Ecology. They were handed out like free bus tickets to drug addicts in downtown Olympia. And this is really, really a problem. You're never going to get a fair hearing with a judge like this. It's very unfortunate that this was the judge that they had. I'm not surprised that the injunction went the wrong way. However, that's not the end of this case. We'll see what ends up happening. There's some choices they have moving forward. If it was me, I hope they depose everybody and really start to dig into what's going on here right now. So it does look like it's going to be an endless slog. Inslee backing down, the City of Olympia possibly shifting gears and how they decided to dump their homeless drug addicts and their neighbors, and a terrible decision in Thurston County Superior Court, no surprise, but possibly an impact in the future on how they're going to deal with these issues. Again, there's just a lot going on, and it's really worth studying this and understanding more. I encourage you to go to wethegovern.com. Also, subscribe and share this video with others who may not know about some of these issues. And remember, the only way you make an impact is going out and confronting these guys, exposing the truth, and showing up, because the future does belong to those who show up.